Realistically, the NASCAR XFINITY playoffs should have began back in June. Ever since Ross Chastain declared for Truck Series points, there's been almost no incentive to consistently watch this series. The racing product has been decent, as both Daytona and Bristol were eye-catching spectacles in prime time. The main issue with the 200-300 lap preview has been the massive lack in competition. Too many playoff positions and the departure of Roush and Ganassi have created a huge gap between 12th and 13th. Unless Greg Gaulding or Brendan Brown pulled the Hail Mary, there would be no massive cut line implications. Heck, 3 of the 4 spots for Homestead seem to be punched, barring a choke job by one of the big 3. At least Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski haven't leached the series dry, so there's a positive bullet. It's been the weakest series of the 3, but that can all be erased with a stellar postseason. 12 drivers, 8 organizations, and 3 manufacturers are jockeying for the glories of the Xfinity Championship. Let's take a viewpoint from the spotter stand to see who has the strengths to race in Miami.
Tyler Reddick's gonna do it!
One campaign ago, Tyler Reddick was able to upset the powerhouses of Justin Allgaier and Christopher Bell to claim the season championship. 10 months later, the California kid has completely taken off with his new team. Switching to RCR, it's been a golden season for the number 2 team, resulting in the regular season championship. Good, now we can finally stop hearing how he isn't a real champion and how Homestead was such a complete twist of fate. Tyler Reddick now sets his sights on going for 2 and win RCR their first drivers' championship since 2013. Qualifying for the championship race should be no challenge, considering he enters Richmond 27 points over the 4th seed. Since the start of the season, Reddick hasn't had back-to-back finishes outside the top 10. Even if he experiences mechanical issues or other calamities, it won't damage his chances of advancing. The fuel strategy victory at Las Vegas was a great momentum booster, and they'll need more star performances to increase their chances at the title.
Win number 6 for Christopher Bell, and it's gonna come at Road America.
Arguably the greatest Xfinity Series regular of all time, Christopher Bell has continued to flash his immense wheel power. A league-high 6 wins and 1,295 laps led have Jason Ratcliffe and crew heating up. Consistency and less rookie miscues that pay dividends as well, bolstering his average finish to 9.0. Entering Richmond with 55 playoff points, Christopher Bell has the easiest path to Miami. If last season is any indication, however, nothing is assured until mathematically proven. Christopher Bell entered Phoenix last season facing a must-win situation after 2 finishes outside the top 30. This is likely Christopher Bell's last chance at capturing Xfinity glory, so there's some added pressure to hoist the trophy in 2 months' time. Entering September, the tactics for battle are fairly simple. Keep it off the wall, win some races, and engineer the fastest machine possible for the winner-take-all race. Cole Custer, always an above average but nothing more type of racer, has become a Xfinity superstar in just 10 short months. Turns out all they needed was a non-vanilla crew chief on top of the war wagon. Mike Shipwood has completely charged up this 00 team, doubling statistics from this car's inception. If they advance to the final round, Shipwood has already promised Custer the fastest car he's ever driven. That should scare the other 11 contenders, putting to thought how the 00 performed with a middling crew chief like Jeff Mendering. I don't see their performance melting away in the first 2 rounds, just need to soft serve some contending runs before Homestead.
You did it! Congratulations! Yes!
Remember the days of Austin Cindric? Once a driver whose race cars were torn up and sold to the local North Carolina junkyard every Monday morning as overwent a complete 180. Brian Wilson has greatly matured and developed Cindric from making idiotic mistakes, and it has improved his stats line. He's increased his average finish by 8 positions and has more top 5s and top 10s than 2018. Entering the 7-race playoffs, Austin Cindric has a good chance of racing in Miami. The round of 8 was where Cindric upped his performance last season, earning 2 top 5s and using his aggressive nature to his strengths. That could be the difference between racing for a championship or being one of the other 34 drivers. If the 22 can rough up some fenders and keep it clean, it betters their odds for sure. The bubble position is always tight, and making those aggressive moves can swing the cut line 1 to 2 points in their favor. Just don't overcommit to a risky move and turn a solid points outing into a must-win situation, even though they are more than capable with Team Penske horsepower to do so.
And Chase Briscoe is going to flex his muscle and win.
Honestly, I was expecting a bit more from Chase Briscoe in the regular season. Combining his dirt experience with Stewart-Haas equipment, I figured he would lead laps and win 3 to 5 races. Now, he won Iowa in late July and has netted 20 top 10s. That statistic is second best in the league behind Tyler Reddick. The 98 and Richard Boswell, however, have completely lacked the ability to turn those solid outings into spectacular races. Paul Menard, NASCAR's modern-day Mendoza line, has led more laps than Chase Briscoe in only 2 starts. Maybe it was my fault for expecting more out of a young racer who ran a limited schedule with the cataclysmic number 60 team. Anyway, some playoff racing lies ahead for the Indiana Hoosier. Chase Briscoe has the consistency, but they lack that spark to go deep into November. Looking at the playoff tracks, one speedway for a possible statement is the Charlotte Roval. Briscoe will enter as the defending winner, hoping to build on a dominating performance last September. That could be a game-changing race and swing some momentum for this number 98.
Got a tire down, Steve. He said he has a tire down, Justin Allgaier.
Typically when you binge watch any TV show, there's always a traditional occurrence or gaffe to that specific program. In the NASCAR XFINITY Series, it's always how is Justin Allgaier going to lose this race? The Food City 300 at Bristol was the pinnacle of this thinking. Justin Allgaier dominated that race, leading 131 laps and executing the final restart to perfection. With less than 20 to go, Allgaier cuts a tire and rebounds for a remarkable but disappointing 8th place finish. With their performance this season, Justin Allgaier and the 7 crew have become the Xfinity version of Kyle Larson. No matter the speed and talent level showcased on the pavement, they just can't earn a winning sticker to save their lives. Despite going winless, I would say Jason Burdett and crew still have strong championship ambitions. Over the past few campaigns, the 7 team has shown the regular season doesn't matter, at least from their standpoint. Justin Allgaier didn't win any races in 2016, but his consistency got him a ticket to Homestead. 2017, they were massively inconsistent, scoring a collective average finish of 13th. In the 7 races, they slowly got it together, and that was enough to compete for a championship in Miami. Last season, we all know Allgaier's fate. 5 wins, the regular season championship, and a career year weren't enough to make the championship 4. Justin Allgaier has a solid shot for redemption and salvage the frustrations of coming up short.
Michael Annett, first career victory. It comes at Daytona.
Remember when Michael Annett missed the postseason to the likes of Ryan Reed and Brandon Jones? A massive U-turn in performance has the one team competing 1 year later. Travis Mack has proven to be a top-notch crew chief, completely turning the mediocre Midwest contender into a consistent stats producer. He's netted more top 5s, top 10s, and led more laps than his previous 2 seasons at JRM combined. They passed the first flight test with flying colors, continually improving after winning Daytona. Now the pressures of the 7-race knockout-style postseason will test how this core can perform in battle. If they can soar to new heights and lead laps, they could be a bubble driver to make the championship race. If they falter, however, Michael Annett could end up somewhere worse than the NASCAR garage area, the Applebee's parking lot. Noah Gragson through the first 25 races has just been good. He's completing laps and earning top 10 finishes, but he's not even close to winning a race. Nonetheless, David Owens and the 9 team are once again in the playoffs. There is some history on the line if the 9 car can repeat as season champion. They would become the first back-to-back champions since the BACE Motorsports number 74 from 1995 to 1997. Even more impressive, it would come with 3 young drivers in their debuted Xfinity campaigns. As shown last November, the engineers and tuners know how to bring a fast Chevrolet Camaro to Homestead. Noah Gragson last season nearly won the Ford 200 to claim the truck championship, so he certainly knows how to execute at that speedway. The toughest challenge relies with the round of 8. Gragson doesn't have the playoff points compared to the Big 3, nor does he have the consistency of the 98, 22, and the 7. He will more than likely need a victory at Kansas, Texas, or Phoenix to advance. It sounds like a steep challenge, but with David Owens, you shouldn't count out this 9 team until they're mathematically eliminated.
About him too soon.
Oh, that's gonna
Into
be
the wall,
hard.
Brandon Jones.
I see you skip through half the video to get to Brandon Jones. You want me to talk about how much of a rich kid he is and how he is the least talented driver in the league's 70-year history. This summer, however, one glaring issue has massively outweighed his talents. This 19 team is utter garbage. Brandon Jones was putting together solid outings at Kentucky and Iowa before mechanical issues put him behind the wall. He also had a strong performance at Bristol, nearly in position to finally win his first race. Ultimately, a blown tire and some more bad luck ended a promising race. Believe me, Brandon Jones is not a good driver, but he's put a lot less cars in the fence since early June. As for the playoffs, there's almost no chance they get past the round of 12. They're just too inconsistent to get any positive momentum generated. Brandon Jones, Jeff Mendering, and the 19 team are only here because of the lack of top-tier teams.
Justin Haley in victory lane.
As we're halfway to St. Patrick's Day, it's time to acknowledge Justin Haley as NASCAR's four-leaf clover. Last season in trucks, Haley put together an improbable run, scoring 3 victories en route to Homestead. Meanwhile in Cup, the lightning clock and Mother Nature helped Justin Haley reach the gold standard in life, being able to go to bed every night knowing you're forever a NASCAR Cup Series winner. All that's missing from the equation is a magical Xfinity playoff run here in the fall. Compared to the likes of GMS and RSS, calling in the 11 team have the consistency to make a deep run. Justin Haley hasn't led laps, but he scored 17 top 10s and has an average finish of around 10th. They have a decent shot at the round of 8, and if chaos ensues at Kentucky and Texas, they could be in position to advance to the championship extravaganza. This organization is also mourning the loss of Nick Harrison, so they're gonna bring some heart and soul to this postseason. It would be a great Cinderella run if they can make the championship race. Contrasting from a majority of the Xfinity teams, RSS Racing is on the upswing. Ryan Sieg has done exactly what I recommended back in February: earn more top 5s, top 10s, and greatly improve his average finish. Adding in, he's already matched his lead lap finishes throughout the entirety of 2018. The performance has gained them some long-term stability, with CMR Construction sponsoring every race starting in 2020. For the first time since 2016, there will be a postseason for the 39 team. Last time they were here, Sieg netted 3 top 20 finishes, but came just short of the round of 8. Not sure if they can go on another magical run, but they're building a solid foundation for the long-term future.
It's kind of my passion and my desire and what I love to do each and every weekend.
3 months removed from the last check-in, GMS Racing has completely blown up. The 23 team's performance has warranted a multiple alarm fire, scoring just 5 top 20 finishes in 12 races. 4 DNFs have slid John Hunter Nemechek and Chad Norris to the 12th seed, and I'm not sure if they can battle back. If a team like Junior Motorsports or JGR went on this slump, you have a decent amount of playoff points as you slowly get back on track. That mentality lacks with the GMS equipment, and I just don't see this team making it past the round of 12. But hey, at least it was a season of progress for the long-term future. That is, until Murray Gallagher is considering pulling funding for the Xfinity program. John Hunter Nemechek benefited from Ganassi's demise in the short term, but his future growth in the sport is likely in question. Hopefully he can get around in the NASCAR Xfinity garage, considering his success in the NASCAR Truck Series. 6 destinations and events are all that remain between 300 miles for the Xfinity Series trophy. Time to pick the 4 teams and drivers going for the season-ending prize. Much like the 2018 NASCAR Cup Series, it's the Big 3 versus me type story. Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Cole Custer have been the heavyweights, and they've consistently been strong all season. Compared to Justin Allgaier in the 7 last campaign, I don't see these favorites bowing down anytime soon. The one question is, who is going to be the me factor in South Florida? With that stated, my pick counters Joey Logano, the me contested that performed when it mattered. Austin Cindric and Team Penske have the speed and horsepower to run up with those top dogs. Couple in the aggressiveness and bold moves needed to advance, the playoff format works into his favor. The 22 race is the best down to the wire, and that's why Austin Cindric is my 4th contestant for Homestead Miami. Nonetheless, it's time to begin this 7-week battle of chaos and intensity to crown a season champion. So anyways, this is NRF signing out, and just remember, life's a beach and then you drive.